Today, we will tell the story of an event that, despite its significance, remains little known. Although well-known companies and research institutions participated in it, and the subject was an aircraft famous worldwide. The main circumstances of this rescue were tied to the extraordinary abilities of one individual. This aspect often elicits skepticism among scientists and engineers. February 1998. The Russian-American Scientific and Experimental Program for the development of the second-generation supersonic passenger aircraft concluded. As part of the research, the program studied the effects of various factors on supersonic passenger flights and assessed the effectiveness of certain actions and technological solutions. The aircraft chosen for the research was a supersonic passenger Tu-144D, serial number 082, with the tail number USSR 77114. Following successful negotiations, the contract for modifying the Tu-144D aircraft and conducting a series of studies in the interest of creating the second-generation supersonic passenger aircraft was signed on June 17, 1994. The program involved the A.N. Tupolev Central Design Bureau, TSAGI, LII, NASA, Boeing, and several other companies. The cost of the program in 1996 amounted to about $14 million. The Tu-144D underwent extensive modifications. Engines from a more powerful aircraft were installed, necessitating adjustments to all onboard systems linked to the power unit. Changes also affected the air intakes. The wing was reinforced, its mechanics were altered, and fuel and other systems were upgraded. For research purposes, the cabin was fitted with Russian and American experimental equipment. After all these modifications, the aircraft received the official designation Tu-144LL Flying Laboratory with the registration RA77114. The date for the first test flight was set. Test pilot S.G. Borisov was on board as the crew commander, and honored test pilot hero of the Soviet Union B.I. Veremey flew with him as a co-pilot. However, the 6-year downtime since 1990 and changes made to the onboard systems raised numerous concerns. Ground tests couldn't fully guarantee the aircraft's reliability during actual flights. At this juncture, a critical intervention that changed the project's fate came from Inna Andreevna Veremey, the second pilot's wife. A few days before the first Tu-144LL flight, Inna Andreevna saw the TV program Third Eye on NTV featuring academician Grigori Grabovoi. She decided to seek his advice. NTV is a prominent nationwide federal TV channel in Russia. Here are excerpts from that broadcast. Journalist. And today we have a unique individual as a guest, widely known not only here, but also abroad, maybe even more abroad than here. That's why he's in our Third Eye program for the first time. His name is Grigori Grabovoi. Hello, Grigori Grabovoi. Good evening. Journalist. Dear viewers, I recommend you treat this broadcast not just as casual talk, but as a source of concrete information. Therefore, if possible, I urge you to record this program on video or, at the very least, audio tape. Later, you'll understand why this could be important. Every segment of today's program can provide practical help. As I understand it, the testimonies presented here were prepared not just for TV, but to meet specific standards requiring evidence and results. You have prepared these as documented testimonies according to particular requirements, correct? Grabovoi. Yes, I have experience in formalizing various testimonies. It involves ensuring that the witness is accompanied by at least two others who confirm what is being said and heard. This must be documented and, for instance, notarized, sometimes with a UNESCO stamp. Well, some international organizations, journalists. So, every statement we hear today has been recorded in this way. Grabovoi, yes, of course. Journalist, these have a documented basis with stamps, witnesses, and so on. Grabovoi, yes, validation of facts and the witnesses' statements are all done in a formal international protocol. Journalist, shall we begin with some mechanical damage? Grabovoi, we will start with a segment on technical diagnostics. Journalist, I know there are numerous testimonies, including from the Uzbek government, that is, on the highest levels. Let's start with the first one. This is a technical testimony. Please play the tape. V.M. Saulkin. I, Vyacheslav Mikhailovich Saulkin, am currently residing in Voronezh, confirm that in 1991 and 1992, Grigori Petrovich Grabovoi worked with me at the Tashkent Aviation United Detachment in the Aviation Technical Base, conducting extrasensory diagnostics of aircraft engines operated by the Tashkent Aviation Technical Base. And I confirm that during this period, the results achieved were as follows. Throughout his tenure, there was 100% accuracy in the diagnostics he conducted. All work on extrasensory diagnostics of aircraft and engines was documented in acts signed and sealed. There are 41 such documents in this stack. In summary, such work was indeed conducted at the Tashkent Aviation Technical Base. Grabovoi, I believe presenting this information benefits everyone since our age is so reliant on technical devices. Demonstrating such a fact is positive in showing that it was achieved over a prolonged period of work. Journalist. So, if those listening now understand this along with you, they too might achieve the same results. Grabovoi. Yes, the goal is for people by understanding to achieve practical results. For example, diagnosing an aircraft before takeoff or identifying a defect in a car that could endanger lives. The testimony of Inna Andreevna Peremey. Inna Peremey. My husband was about to work on the Tu-144 aircraft, which hadn't flown for 5 years. Naturally, I was worried, and I accidentally heard on TV that Grigori Petrovich Grabovoi was doing diagnostics on aircraft and planes. Without telling my husband, I went to him, that is to Grabovoi, to not worry and to know what to expect in the first flight and how the work would go, because there were no longer people who had worked on this plane. My husband used to work on this plane a lot. There were no technicians or engineers who knew this plane. So life forced me to take precautions and conduct Grigori Grabovoi. I went to him, told him the situation, and he recorded recommendations for me on a tape recorder. He asked me to give this recording to my husband before the flight. I gave it to him and he listened to it. It pointed out several defects that were present in the aircraft at that time. Well, since there wasn't much time, I came to Grigori Grabovoi 2 days before the plane took off. Grigori Petrovich was there before the second flight, and the defects that he had pointed out were confirmed. The testimony of Inna Veremey was published in Grigori Grabovoi's 3-volume book, Practice of Control, The Way of Salvation, published by the Soprichastnost Publishing House, 1998. A few months later, a second program featuring Grigori Grabovoi aired on NTV's The Third Eye program, where it was discussed what happened after the first broadcast, including a video testimony from the esteemed pilot, hero of the Soviet Union, Boris Ivanovich Veremey. It's important to note that the title Hero of the Soviet Union was the highest award in the USSR, granted for heroic deeds or outstanding accomplishments. Here are excerpts from this broadcast. Journalist. Today, our guest is a man at system. This is Grigori Petrovich Grabovoi. Hello, Grigori Petrovich. Grabovoi. Hello, journalist. And possibly the primary factor was the viewing of the broadcast that aired in September of last year. Grigori Grabovoi. Yes, possibly the viewing of the program on September 14, 1996. Journalist. And the fact that we with you ended up in someone else's world of information in that conversation can lead to a change in the situation of the person who is listening to you. Grabovoi. Well, we are talking about how to use information tools for saving, as was the case here. And practice has shown that this methodology is acceptable. That's why I presented the facts here, which happened as a result of the television program. Journalist. Now we will watch a testimony that may not be technically in full compliance with the ATC standards, but I believe it should inspire more trust because it's not staged or scripted. I know that the pilot is going to speak now. Grigori Grabovoi. Yes, he's a test pilot, Boris Veremey. Journalist. He received information about possible malfunctions on his aircraft from his wife, who saw you perform. Grabovoi. Yes, in the Third Eye broadcast. Journalist, please play the video. B.I. Veremey. Using Grigori Petrovich's method of clairvoyance, it was predicted that the aircraft would veer off during takeoff on the first flight, which took place on November 29, 1996. Later, after takeoff, as the altitude increased, the vibration of the front wing predicted by the same clairvoyance method coincided. The vibration appeared at an altitude of 1,500–1,600 meters due to the occurrence of the zero isotherm at 2,000 meters, according to the weather station forecasts. The Mach number increased at this altitude, exceeding 0.4. Due to the structural characteristics of the front wing at this Mach number, this caused a shaking. We stopped gaining altitude, and the predicted incident helped us avoid entering the dangerous vibration regime of the front wing. This is one of the aircraft's control elements. Later, in the same flight, after landing, during the rollout, we encountered the plane's deviation, also predicted by Grigori Petrovich. On approach to landing, we encountered the failure of the pitch angle indicator. This is the main instrument that allows pilots to maintain the descent angle on the glide slope for a safe landing. Since this failure was anticipated, we were given recommendations by the aerodynamics team of LII to increase speed by 20 kilometers per hour from the calculated value. This allowed us to land without touching the tail section of the fuselage. Narrator. We will now pause the video testimony of Boris Peremey. And now we will show a video of this landing, and you can assess for yourself how timely Inna Peremey's consultation with Grigori Grabovoi was. Boris Peremey. As a result of the experience of working with Grigori Grabovoi, our anonymous conclusion, both from the crew, the chief designer, and the production team, was that we must cooperate and continue this collaboration, as it will bring great benefits and will prevent many phenomena. Journalist. Well, I hope that the information shared here will be helpful to everyone who has listened. I wish you success. Thank you very much. Grabovoi, thank you. Journalist, good night. Until next Sunday. All the best. Testimony of Boris Peremey, published in Grigori Grabovoi's 3-volume work, Practice of Control, The Way of Salvation, published by Soprichastnost, 1998. Separately, the Deputy Chief Designer of the Tupolev Design Bureau, Mikhail Kolmanovich, provided his testimony. Testimony of Mikhail Kolmanovich. The Tu-144 tail number 082. A consultation was held with the clairvoyant Mr. Grigori Petrovich Grabovoi. During one of his visits to our aircraft, while in the cockpit, he predicted and gave a forecast that in the first flight we might encounter some complications and issues with the pitch angle indicator. After the flight, during the debriefing, based on the feedback from the flight crew, this prediction was confirmed. These malfunctions with this instrument indeed occurred during the first flight. The flight date was November 29, 1996. During the preparation of the aircraft for flight operations, when checking the aircraft systems, we simulated the failure of one of the electric motors, and as a result, we experienced an incomplete setting of the left front wing. Later, when meeting with Grigori Grabovoi, he predicted these doubts. And all of this coincided with the reality we encountered during the systems testing of the front wings. Mikhail Evseyevich Kolmanovich, Deputy Chief Designer. Both Boris Peremey and Mikhail Kolmanovich confirmed that without Grigori Grabovoi's recommendations, the aircraft could have been subjected to catastrophic processes. Their testimony emphasized the importance of combining traditional engineering approaches with the spiritual abilities of humans. These recommendations were so crucial that they were taken into account before the first test flight. Pilots are a special group of people who often risk their lives. In difficult situations, they must act, sometimes making the right decision instantly. By making such statements, Boris Peremey and Mikhail Kolmanovich showed concern for the future of the aviation industry, the future of their colleagues, the pilots who will participate in flight tests, and the pilots who will be responsible for passenger transport. This event, related to the test flight of the Tu-144LL, demonstrates that the world can be saved by even one person, simply by learning how to save or reaching out to someone who can save. It turns out that, on one hand, Inna Veremey, by turning to Grigori Grabovoi for help, expressed her will to save and thus prevent a catastrophe. On the other hand, Grigori Petrovich, who knows how to save, saves and shares this knowledge with the world. Together, they prevent a disaster, save the aircraft, protect the image of the company and the country, prevent a multi-million-dollar economic loss, and most importantly, they save the people, the aircraft crew. Today, as computer technologies and artificial intelligence are rapidly developing, it is important to remember that advanced human consciousness remains the most crucial factor in ensuring safety. Turning to the experience and developments of Grigori Grabovoi could be a decisive step in preventing future potential catastrophes. Now, worldwide, there is a distribution of the PRK1U and PRK1UM concentration development devices. These devices were created by Grigori Petrovich Grabovoi based on his patent's method for prevention of catastrophes and device for its realization and information carrying system. Grigori Grabovoi's calls to focus on the development of consciousness and the use of the device technologies he invented to prevent catastrophes are becoming increasingly relevant. Therefore, once again, we recommend that all countries, all world organizations, the UN, UNESCO, WHO, and so on, pay attention to the technologies developed by Grigori Grabovoi, to his ability to make 100% accurate forecasts and prevent catastrophes. Only developed human consciousness and advanced spiritual structures will be able to control rapidly evolving technologies. This will help save the Earth and humanity. We know that all accusations against Grigori Grabovoi will be dropped. We urge journalists and bloggers who spread the same fabricated and false information about Grigori Grabovoi to stop spreading this lie. We also recommend paying attention to the testimonies of saved people. We see how the media can participate in preventing catastrophes, as demonstrated by the saving of the Tu-144LL, which we discussed in this video. And it is this legendary aircraft, the Tu-144LL, tail number 77114, which in 2019 was restored to its original appearance and placed at the entrance to Zhukovsky, Moscow region. This aircraft has become not only a symbol of achievement in the aviation industry, but also a symbol of the application of human spiritual structures for the prevention and salvation from catastrophes. And there are witnesses and testimonies, as shown in this video,